to my next video in my building a reef aquarium. This is actually going to be one of my more favorite videos because today we're actually going to be adding our first livestock, our first live animals into the tank, which has just recently finished its cycling process. And so to do that, I'm going to demonstrate what's called drip acclimation, which is supposed to help the fish adjust a little bit more to the process of being introduced into a new tank. So drip acclimation is basically running a small line and dripping into a small bucket, which I have right here, so that the fish will become more acclimated to this particular environment. And so you dump fish, water and all, into a small bucket and start dripping at a few drips per second for about an hour to an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on how hardy the fish are. And that will acclimate them slowly to your environment, and then you can then just simply add them to the tank. So today I have picked up our first 2 clownfish, the Ocellaris clownfish. We also have a couple of number of snails, a couple of crabs, and we have one peppermint shrimp. And so, although that may sound like an awful lot to introduce, most of those are cleaners, helping to keep the tank nice and clean and algae-free. So I'm going to go ahead and start the dripping process here, and I'm going to give you a look at how it actually works. Okay, so here we go. So these are my 2 clownfish swimming along, and I think we're going to start with this crab. Put a little more of the water into the bucket before the fish actually end up into it. So I'm just going to cut the top off and just very gently pour my water into my bucket here. Take this first layer off. There we go. And my local fish store is really good. They've done a really good job bundling these up to make sure that the fish and livestock are okay. And so here we go. Got our first one in. Next we're going to be looking at a bunch of snails. And here I'm really interested in getting as much of the water into the bucket as I can, so that plenty of room for them to move around. Into the second one. Oops. So like I said, we have some crabs. Here's a peppermint shrimp that's going to be going in. Number of turbo snails, or cleaning snails. Glad that I got these in separate, because it's giving me a lot more water to add here. This is actually a pretty good sized bucket, so don't want to hurt the animals as best we can. And lastly, in are going to go our clownfish. While these acclimate, I'm actually going to be just checking my saline levels and making sure everything is going to be good to go for our new inhabitants. Alright, there we are. Have everybody in there now. And what I'm going to do is I'll give you a close-up look inside the bucket. Okay, so here we are. So you can see what I've got. My two clownfish swimming around. We got a nice green crab in there. You can see we've got several snails, and if I can zoom in here, you can see I've got a couple of hermit crabs, or a couple of hermit crabs. One's pretty good size there. The one over here in the corner is kind of smaller. And then there's my peppermint shrimp. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the drip, and we're going to let these guys acclimate for about a couple of hours. So I'll come back when I have the drip set up. Okay, so here we are back, and so this is the Aqua Gadget, it's called, and it is an AccuDrip, and this is the drip system. Try to get in a little closer here so you can take a look at it. I'll try to, if that doesn't show up well, I'll try and put a nice picture on for you to see when I edit this video. And so basically the process is actually quite simple. So I'm going to position my bucket into place. So during the break here, I just went online, I just went on the tank and checked my salinity level, added a little more water, made sure everything was just right, so everything is good. So I'll be able to start the drip here. And so basically this is, I just said to my wife the other day, this is basically just a saltwater IV. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that end into the bucket, and then I'm going to take and submerge that. And then there's a little primer here that I can use to get it all ready to go. And so looks like it's already there. And so what I'm going to do is, the water is pouring out rather quickly, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the drip rate. So it's dripping just a few drops every few seconds. I'm just going to push this up against here, hopefully, so that I can get a nice drip. And it's a little dark here tonight, so I'm going to use my phone to kind of light up so I can see what the drip is. Make sure that I'm in where I need to be. And so here we go. Flip this on. Now I need a little faster drip. I'm just going to adjust this little ball here. I'm just getting a few drops every few seconds. That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to get in a little closer so that you can see the dripping in action and give you a little closer view of the whole setup here so you can see what... Okay, so here we are a little closer in. As you can see, I've got a couple of drops going in there every few seconds, or every second a few drops going in there. And basically it's just dripping into the bucket where all of my fish and other livestock are. And I'm basically going to just let this run. So right now it's about 5:45 at night, and so I'm just going to let this drip until about 6:30, about 7 o'clock maybe. And the reason I used the biggest bucket as I did here is that it's going to give me enough room, and after a couple hours, the level is going to go up in the water. So I just want to make sure that I'm not going to overflow my bucket. But at this rate, with only an hour or an hour and a half, I shouldn't have a problem. And so just following up here, you can see there's the drip. And basically it looks just like an IV that you might see in a hospital. And so looking down, you can see this is the adjuster that adjusts the drip rate. And so rolling the little blue ball down restricts the rate, and moving it up increases the rate. And so basically we've just got gravity and working at it here. And this is a very reasonable option compared to some of the costs of the hang on the box acclimators. Or hang on the back acclimators. Those I've seen run for $50 or $60 for the small one, and almost $100 for a larger one. This whole drip acclimator here just cost me 20 bucks. And the bucket is just an old salt bucket that I've had to mix my salt water. So I'm feeling pretty good here. We're gonna let this go for a while, and then I'm gonna come back as we actually go ahead and put the fish into the tank. Get the first clownfish in. That's it. We have them all in. Alright, so now that we have them in, we're going to give them a little something to eat. They are eating. That's a good sign. So one of the things that I have to do is I got to get those power heads on an on-off switch so that when I drop the food in there it doesn't end up scattered all over the place. So that's going to take a little electrical rewire. But so far so good.